first edition of the NFL Whip Around segment. Shout out to Fish. This was his idea. And speaking of the Jets, we will start with them. They win 21-13. Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson finally have their big games, both over 90 yards. Errol, what do you think?
Oh, man, what do I think? Well, I was absolutely wrong about Garrett Wilson not showing up to this game. I did say that Davante Adams was going to be double teamed. He did, and he was attracting, obviously the better corner on with Stingley, and Stingley was defending. They were defending with their best corners over there, Davante Adams. It opened up the field for Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson exploded. Garrett Wilson for the last 3 weeks has been as explosive out of every single receiver in the league, and that those 2 catches that he made and that unbelievable catch, as you see right there in the end zone, was going to be probably catch of the year. It's something that, if you remember, on Sunday Night Football, New York Giants against the Cowboys in Dallas, when Odell Beckham made that grab, which practically put him on the map, I think that put Garrett Wilson on the map. The Jets win a game that obviously the lackadaisical C.J. Stroud and the team that was so, they didn't have their top wide receivers. Diggs goes down, and obviously they didn't have Nico Collins. So the Jets win the game, but to me, that doesn't sell me that the Jets are going to come back.
Java, any thoughts?
Just talk bad about somebody and then they decide to go off. Hence Garrett Wilson.
Is that the attack right there?
Everybody you've talked about has gone off, so hey, it seems to be
listen,
working.
Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should make some money doing that. Just talk about everybody, and I'll wind up winning, or help you guys win with your bets. So that's always good. But go ahead.
So basically, Robert Saleh is going to be an offensive guru in Green Bay. Thanks, Java.
All right, we'll see what happens.
We'll stay in New York or New Jersey. Commanders 27-22 over the Giants. 2 touchdowns for Terry McLaurin. 2 very impressive catches in that one. Java, what do you got?
Well, how long is Daniel Jones going to play? I mean, this was a tough game to watch. You knew it wasn't going to be the greatest of games going into it, but I mean, when you look at the highlights throughout the game, were there really that many highlights? And that's kind of what, Theo Johnson had a great grab, 35-year-old grab, but the game kind of drug on for me. I don't know what you guys thought, but it definitely drug on for me.
Well, it's pretty simple what I saw. The Commanders are the better team. The Giants, they stayed in the game. They played hard. That was something that you saw. And even in the fourth quarter, the Giants were pounded. And the problem is I think the Giants gave the game away in the fourth quarter. The Giants had a chance to come back in the game, and even though the Commanders did not have one of their better defensive games, the Commanders made some defensive plays at the end of the game that took over the game, and the Giants lose a game that, it was closer than people thought it was going to be, but, that's what happens.
All right, moving on to the New York team. The Buffalo Bills, without Amari Cooper, beat the Miami Dolphins 30-27. Errol, what do you got?
What we got? I'm sorry.
Bills 30-27 over the Dolphins without Amari Cooper.
Here's the thing. Josh Allen is a beast. Josh Allen right now has become an MVP candidate. And honestly, he was back and forth, but I think he's moving up there. I would say Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen are the guys that, as far as the quarterback play, and Lamar Jackson, he's there too. But he's unbelievable. He is fantastic. He used his legs in this game. That's really what was the difference in this game. And that's what makes him the difference. He is the difference changer. And by the way, the Bills had a chance to lose this game. The Dolphins gave them every bit to come back in the game. The Dolphins had the lead with what? 1 minute and 30 seconds left. They let the Bills come back. They let Josh Allen make the plays, and that's what happened.
Java.
If you look at it, he had 5 guys with over 5 receptions. So he spread the ball out. Like I said, I think he's back in the equation for MVP because, he had a couple bad games, but just the way he spreads the ball around and, being able to use his feet too, that's a big man running the ball. So it's definitely one of those things where, he's continued to get better, and you know what? He's in that question.
All right, we'll go to the Chargers or the Broncos and the Ravens. Ravens 41-10 blowout over the Broncos. Java, your thoughts?
Well, we kind of knew that was going to happen. My son's a huge Broncos fan, so I kind of let him be by himself after that game. And they just continue to show, Lamar Jackson and what he does. But when you've got Derrick Henry running the way he's running, It's just incredible to watch. A man that big can run that fast. It's so much fun to watch, and a lot of people missed on that one. And then here's another one with Mr. Errol that Zay Flowers is not a number one. Let me just go get 150 and 2 touchdowns. So,
Oh, wait a second. And here's the thing: what I believe that they needed that other guy, and obviously what they did, making and adding some pieces to the puzzle. Rashad Bateman is really taking that size and that position as the second tier wide receiver. And they made some moves, and they're going to continue making moves before the trade deadline. They're going to add a defensive option. But Zay Flowers had a good game. I want to see him do it multiple back-to-back games. I haven't seen that. And until he does that, I am not going to sit here and say, well, he's back again. Zay Flowers was going to be and should have been as good or even better than he has been this year. As far as Lamar Jackson is concerned, 16 for 19, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns. 16 for 19, 280 yards. He didn't do much as far as the totals are concerned, but he was so accurate, and he did it on his arm. He didn't use his legs in the game. He carried the ball 3 times for 4 yards. He didn't really do what he usually does, and that's run the ball. And that's because Derrick Henry is a beast. 23 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4.61 in average. Average running back average is 3.6. So you see what Derrick Henry is doing. He is putting up unbelievable numbers right now, and he's on his way. Maybe breaks that record this year. It's really spectacular to watch what he's doing. The Broncos, hey, listen, the Broncos are playing a lot better than anybody thought they were going to. Bo Nix, 19 for 33, 223 yards, 1 interception. He hasn't really been as good as everybody thought he was going to be, including me. I thought he was going to be a lot better than he was. Javonte Williams, I thought was going to have a better year coming from a torn ACL. 12 carries, 42 yards, 3.5 under the league average for a game. So they're not running the ball very well. And Courtland Sutton, I mean, that's the guy. I mean, if the Broncos want to get something really back for a player, if they're willing to trade Courtland Sutton, I think a lot of suitors would be out there making a move for Courtland Sutton. So the Broncos are probably going to lose like 3 or 4 games consecutively because the games are only going to get harder for them.
All right, the Falcons beating the Cowboys 27-21. Errol, you talked about him earlier. Bijan Robinson, 145 scrimmage yards in this game.
I've got Bijan on my roster, my fantasy. I think he's a beast. Here's the thing. The Cowboys defense, their secondary is horrible. Diggs doesn't know where his ass is, or maybe he does. Maybe it's out the door because he doesn't know how to play his position. Mooney, he's been explosive all year. He's been the surprise for the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins looks like he's taken over for this team. He's been sensational this year. For anybody that thought you were going to see a young quarterback come in over Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been sensational this year. 19 for 24, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns. And like you said, Bijan Robinson has been sensational. And they're getting quality offensive plays from many different guys. Drake London gets hurt early in the game. It was no problem. Kyle Pitts has not been consistent. Do they look to move Kyle Pitts in the offseason because he's not the player that they thought he was going to be? But Darnell Mooney has been the surprise of the offseason, bringing him in and being the number 1 target for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I think Kirk Cousins is going out doing some special things on that side. And you hate to see anybody go down with injury. And, just from what they've done and seen, that's going to be a big loss for Dallas. But, the Falcons and the way Kirk Cousins is playing and spreading the ball, and, he's got some dynamic receivers. I think, they could do some special things here.
All right, Jabba, the Bengals dominating the Raiders 41-24. Now go to 4-5. They won 3 of their last 4 games. Joe Burrow, 5 touchdowns.
I mean, yeah, Joe Burrow coming back in. They got it. It's going to be tough next week when they're going against the Ravens to get back to 5-5. But going out throwing 5 touchdowns and being able to get Chase Brown involved too with 27 carries, and 120 yards. And I think if that offense can click, like I said, it's going to be a tough one next week. And I mean, the Raiders are the Raiders. You never know what they're going to get. So, I think they're headed in the right direction. It's going to be a tough one next week, but hopefully then they can get a good one and keep it competitive because it's going to be a tough battle with the Ravens.
Joe Burrow. That's all I'm going to say. Joe Burrow's waking up. And if Joe Burrow or Joey Cool, whatever he calls himself, Slim Shady, whatever he wants to dye his hair. He can dye his hair red, blue, purple, shiny yellow. I don't give a crap. If he's going to go out there and play his game, you know the Bengals are going to give you a hard time. He is fantastic, and they're getting the offense. They didn't even have Higgins in this game, and they still put up a 41 spot. It's pretty impressive. Joe Burrow, 27 for 39, 251 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, and they're getting enough from Chase Brown. I mean, 27 carries for 120 yards, 4.4 a carry, and it wasn't Jamar Chase. It was Mike Gesicki. That's who it was. The tight end guy that came from the Dolphins, who really hasn't exploded. I know Speedy loved him coming out of the draft. He's finally found a home. 5 receptions, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 targets. Watch Gesicki. If you're a fantasy guy, pick up Gesicki. I think he's going to be a big-time target for the next couple of weeks.
All right.
Yeah, I missed him. Golly.
The Chargers 27-10 over the Browns. A big day for somebody that Jeff loved out of the draft, Quentin Johnson, 118 yards and a touchdown. Errol, your thoughts?
Quentin Johnson special. Okay. And I know everybody's sitting here and wondering why hasn't he exploded? Well, guess what? Jim Harbaugh is an offensive, even though he pushes defense, he's a quarterback. He understands how to run an offense. If Quentin Johnson figures it out, and he hasn't figured it out yet, but when he figures this out, and if he becomes the player that they think he could become, they have themselves a number one. I know there was a lot of conversations that they could be looking for a T. Higgins if he becomes available. I do not believe he's going to become available. But the real surprise is J.K. Dobbins. He's been unbelievable this year. Torn ACL. How many torn ACLs has he had? Left, right. He's had 2 in his right, 1 in his left. J.K. Dobbins, 14 carries, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 6.07. He leads the league in average a carry. He has been unbelievable this year. Everybody keeps talking about Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. This guy's really stood out from all the rest. I've been very surprised. It wasn't a big day for Justin Herbert. I mean, 18 for 27, 282 yards and 2 touchdowns. You would think it's a big day. It wasn't a big day for him. He made the right plays. He made the right decisions. And that's why I believe he's only going to get better under Jim Harbaugh. As far as the Browns are concerned, I don't know what's going on with this defense. We do know Jameis Winston is a better option than Watson. They're going to have to decide what they're going to do with Watson in the offseason if they're going to be able to move him with that knee injury. But Jameis Winston, 26 for 46, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. I mean, it's not going to stand out. The standout is Nick Chubb is getting healthier. When Nick Chubb gets healthier, I think we'll see a little bit more running patterns with this team. 15 carries for 39 yards, 2.6. I'm so happy that Nick Chubb is back. That gruesome injury that he had last year made me sick to my stomach, but I'm just happy to see this kid actually get back on the field and play the game.
Yeah, it's gonna make their receivers better too. And like going back to J.K. Dobbins, and also he's a threat to come out of the backfield. He had 2 catches for 20 yards as well, and being able to open up the field and do what he's capable of doing, it's been pretty special to see. And I'm with you on the Browns. I mean, if you got Jameis Winston as a better option, I don't know where else you're going to go. So they'll have to figure something out. That's for sure.